Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I do have a Fani Willis update. What's going on with the DA down in Fulton County who's overseeing the Georgia election interference case? But before we get started, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, watch the video all the way to the very end. Thank you so much. On my way to 20,000 subscribers by the end of this month. I'm getting very close. Thank you so much for your support. Well, without further ado, let's get into it.
Republican lawmakers say several whistleblowers are eager to come forward and testify that Willis misused state and federal funds. Now an emergency hearing is scheduled for this week.
A Georgia appeals court is weighing whether or not to take up that case and has now just about 30 days to decide.
All the legal drama, there is more surrounding Donald Trump. Looking specifically now at the election interference case.
Witness in the Fani Willis misconduct hearing in Georgia.
Now the Justice Department reportedly finding inconsistencies in Fulton County DA Fani Willis's use of federal grant money. Willis fired the whistleblower who warned the DA's office was attempting to misuse $488,000. This was a federal grant. She wanted to use it to pay for computers and travel. I don't know if she was traveling with her boyfriend or not, but the DOJ told the Washington Free Beacon the grant is plagued with reporting discrepancies, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no, God bless the whistleblower came forward. We've talked with the whistleblower. She's given information to the press, to us. Now the Department of Justice is looking into this. All kinds of problems with Fani Willis and this ridiculous investigation that she's run on President Trump and others and the charges she's brought forward. I mean, you got the whole thing with Nathan Wade. Taxpayer money going to Nathan Wade. He was traveling to Washington, meet with the DOJ, the White House, the January 6th committee, all in this effort to go after President Trump. And now we have this. It looks like misspending federal grant dollars. God bless the whistleblower who came forward and let us understand what's going on here.
Yeah, that is Amanda Timpson. Amanda Timpson, there was an audio leak, and you can see, I'm going to link that video at the end of this one. And I posted that video back in February of Amanda Timpson, who was working in the office. And she reported to Fani Willis that someone by the name of Coffee was misappropriating funds that were meant for inner city youth. But that money was spent on computers and travel, other things. And federal grant money has to be specifically used for that particular purpose that they gave the grant money for, not whatever you just want to spend it on. And so when the whistleblower came to Fani Willis pretended to, hear her out, act like she was in her corner and was going to look into things to make sure things were going to be right. Shortly after that, I believe 2 months later, that whistleblower was fired. She was terminated. Yes, and she was walked out by 7 armed investigators, 7 armed officers. She was walked out, this 4', 11" woman. And so Amanda stated that there was nothing that she had ever done in her history that would warrant the need of 7 armed men to walk her out. And that was really an intimidation factor to let others know that if you come up against me, Fani Willis is saying that about herself, that this is going to happen to you. These people are all the same. Crooked.
Don't know who they are. We did hear from the lawmakers on Friday, and they told us that they have these whistleblowers. They tell us that they have quite a few of them who are eager.
Spoken to a California man who says he spent 2 hours at a wine tasting in Napa Valley with Willis and her then boyfriend, Nathan Wade.
Dan Brody told me that he hosted Fani Willis and Nathan Wade at Acumen Wines back in 2023 when they both visited this winery in Napa Valley, California. And he distinctly remembers the moment the bill came because it was about $400 and Fani Willis told him that she was going to pay cash, which struck him as odd given the amount. But take a listen to what he told me about his recollection of their visit to this winery.
I ran up the thing and I showed her, I was expecting a credit card, quite frankly. And she said, I'll pay cash. And so that was that. So then I just put the cash in, made change for her, and she was very generous to me.
So two things working against the DA, not only the state lawmakers with those alleged whistleblowers, but also lawyers say they have proof that she was lying before this trial or these allegations ever began. So Ashley Merchant is the prosecuting attorney here. She claims that the affair with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade began long before this racketeering case. And she says that's contrary to an official affidavit just about a week ago from Willis. So she writes in part, this is a motion that was filed on Friday. Since Willis and Wade were not forthright about their relationship in the first instance, there is no reason to believe they are telling the truth now.
The process has to be fair. And part of my job is to make sure that the police, law enforcement, prosecutors don't violate my client's rights as the case goes on.
Merchant grilled Willis on the stand just weeks after exposing a relationship the district attorney shared with the election indictment's top prosecutor.
Since exposing a relationship between District Attorney Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, her top election indictment prosecutor, that ended in Wade's resignation, Merchant has taken on a folk hero status of sorts, with some following Fulton County's historic court case.
I knew it would have an impact, and I knew it was serious enough, or else I wouldn't have raised it, but I didn't quite anticipate the response.
Merchant represents Michael Roman, a one-time staffer for former President Donald Trump, accused of spreading falsehoods about Trump's 2020 election loss. She filed the bombshell allegations in early January, after several days of fiery testimony, including from the DA herself.
This is the truth, Judge, and it is a lie.
Willis was allowed to stay on the case as long as Wade resigned, which he did. But Merchant and 8 other defendants are now appealing that ruling, arguing the case can't move forward with Willis at the helm.
Point blank period. Should Fani Willis be prosecuting this indictment?
No, not at all. And I think the only way that we'll have a just result and the only way that we'll know that justice was actually done is if someone who does not have an interest in the case looks at it.
A Georgia appeals court is weighing whether or not to take up that case and has now just about 30 days to decide. Merchant says coming forth with the allegations wasn't easy. She knew Willis and Nathan Wade. She even campaigned for Wade when he was running for a judge position a few years back.
I still maintain that I would have supported him in that. That doesn't mean that he's qualified to do a RICO case. That doesn't mean that this was appropriate. It doesn't mean that Ms. Willis should have been having an affair with a man that she was paying all this money to.
The district attorney in Georgia says she will not recuse herself in the Trump election subversion case. The House Judiciary Committee chairman subpoenaed Fani Willis to produce documents related to the use and spending of federal funds. House Republicans are investigating allegations that Willis engaged in an improper romantic relationship with her lead prosecutor.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
Okay.
Ma'am, I don't have checks. Okay, here we go again with Fani Willis. Fani Willis. So the Georgia Appeals Court has about 30 days to decide whether or not it wants to take up this appeal, because 8 other defendants don't believe that Fani should be over this, and she shouldn't. Everything was done inappropriately, and I've said this in other videos. You know, Nathan Wade is someone she had a personal relationship with, and he was married at the time. But you know, this is not really so much about just who she's having relations with. It's more about the conflict of interest part. And also, he does not have experience in RICO cases. That's another thing. There was no oath of office. This came up in the hearing, that there was no oath of office on file for Nathan Wade. So you've got all of these particulars that none of the things were done correctly. So he should not have been on it, period. And also the exorbitant amount of money that he was being paid, part of that money was being spent on Fani herself. And then, of course, you have, you know, there was a whistleblower about how the misappropriation of funds, federal funds, were used that were supposed to go to inner city youth. And there was a whistleblower on that. So we have just a mess, a swampy, sickening, stinky mess coming out of Fulton County DA office. And the prior DA for Fulton County was messy as well. So Fulton County, you all need to do better. You need to do better. Okay. These people that you are selecting for you, they're not doing your community any good. They're in for themselves. They're self-aggrandizing people. They just want money and all the perks without doing anything specifically for you to help you. So we all have to look at things. Sometimes I think as voters, we have to look at why do we keep getting the messy people, but we look at things we shouldn't look at, like the color of skin, what we look like, their gender. That doesn't matter. Just look at qualifications. And then you get this. Harrison Floyd is one of the co-defendants, and he is a Black man. And he said that Fani Willis is coming after him because she doesn't think that he should be thinking the way he does about politics and be a Trump supporter. So she specifically went after him harsher than anyone else, denied him bond. He spent time in jail, and he said he is going to use every legal recourse available to him to go after her. Period. Boom. And he should, because everything that's going on down here, I mean, everything that's going down here is just awful. Is absolutely awful. And money's taxpayer money being used. You know, when you run and you get people, you lie. Well, you know, politicians lie. They lie. They don't always tell the truth. We know that. So we're going to see. And of course, she refuses to recuse herself. She's not going to recuse herself. I don't expect her to. She has to be taken off. And the way she conducted herself in the hearing, she should not be doing this case. She should not. And Judge McAfee, I know there's an election coming up, but he was soft on her. I was also surprised to find out that Ashley Merchant did actually campaign for Nathan Wade, but she did say that just because she did that doesn't mean that he's qualified to handle a RICO case. And he's not. So he's off the case. Now we have to see what the Georgia Appeals Court is going to decide. So prayer warriors, get to praying. Well, that's it for today's video. You all be blessed. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, I go live. So be sure to check me out. Well, that's it. Be blessed. And as I always say, march on, warriors.